All right, guys, we're going to go over function operations, part one. So we're going to do in this lesson only the four operations: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, getting us ready for our work on function composition. Okay, so we're just going to focus on those first four. All right, so we've got two functions here, f of x and g of x. And I don't think you know the name of the f of x function yet. We will do that later this school year. That's called a rational function. And then the g of x function you hopefully should know, that is the square root function. So when it says in part A to do f plus g of 3, that's how you read that. First thing I want you to write is f of 3 plus g of 3. All right, so we're going to first find f of 3 separately, g of 3 separately, and then we're going to put those together with addition. Okay, so f of 3 is 3 over 3 minus 2. All right, so 3 minus 2 in the bottom is going to be 1. 3 divided by 1 is 3. Then g of 3 is going to be the square root of 3 plus 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. The square root of 4 is 2. All right, so now that we have each of those, remember, again, we're trying to find them separately, right? F of 3 is 3. G of 3 is 2. So I'm going to add 3 plus 2 to get 5. So f plus g of 3 is equal to 5. And that's pretty much how we're going to do the rest of these on this page. All right, so I'm going to write f of 8 minus g of 8. All right, I'm going to first find f of 8, which is 3 over 8 minus 2. 8 minus 2 is 6. Reducing 3 6, you get 1/2. Feel free to use a decimal if you'd like. G of 8 is going to be the square root of 8 plus 1. 8 plus 1 is 9. The square root of 9 is 3. So just like before, we have f of 8 is 1/2. G of 8 is 3. But this time we're going to subtract them. So I'm going to write 1/2 minus 3. Again, you can leave this as a decimal. You can put it as a fraction. I don't care. It's up to you. But 1/2 minus 3 is negative 2.5. All right, so I'm going to write f minus g of 8 equals negative 2.5. All right, let's do the next one. Now this one, you'll notice there's no operation symbol between g and f. So if that happens, this is multiplication. So it's g of 15 times f of 15. That's what we're doing here. So I'll do g of 15 first, which is going to be the square root of 15 plus 1. The square root of 15 plus 1, well, that's the square root of 16, which is 4. Let's do f of 15. That's 3 over 15 minus 2. 15 minus 2 is going to be 13. And now to finish this, I'm going to multiply 4 times 3/13. Now I can't reduce anything with this, so I'm just going to multiply that 4 straight across onto that 3 to get 12/13. So g times f of 15 is 12/13. All right, last one with this. We have f divided by g of 0, or f over g of 0, which is f of 0 over g of 0. So I'm going to first find f of 0, which is going to be 3 over 0 minus 2. 0 minus 2 is negative 2, so I'm going to write this as negative 3/2. Then g of 0 is going to be the square root of 0 plus 1. The square root of 1 is going to be 1. So to get this, I'm going to do negative 3/2 over 1. Now, I'm hoping that you know at this point in your mathematical career that if you divide anything by 1, it's not going to change. So f over g of 0 equals negative 3/2. Okay, let's do Very similar thing, but this time instead of evaluating separate functions to find like f of 2 or g of 15, we are given a table. So we're going to do the same exact stuff, but this time we don't have to evaluate. We can look at our table to find the y values that we need. So remember, this is going to be f of 4 plus g of 4. So I go to my table. All right, the way you do this is you find 4 on the x value, and to find f of 4, you're going to look for the y value under f of x. So this becomes 9. To do g of 4, same thing. We go to that f of 4. So go to that f of 4. But we go to the g of x function now, and the y value is 2. So this is 2. The operation is addition. So f plus g of 4 equals 11. All right, so it should be fairly similar, but now we're using a table to find those y values as opposed to evaluating functions. Next one is f of negative 2 minus g of negative 2. Let's go to our table again at negative 2. The y value for f of x, when I plug in negative 2 into the f of x function, I get negative 3. So this is negative 3. When I plug it into the g of x function, I get undefined. So that would be minus undefined. Now you cannot figure out what that is, right? It's not defined at that function. So this is what we would say is not possible. There's no value that when I take the f of x function, subtract the g of x function, evaluate it at negative 2, I'm unable to get a value. Okay, let's do f times g of 1. All right, so this is f of 1 times g of 1. All right, so I'm going to go to my table here and go to 1. My f of x function says 3, so when I plug in 1 into that function, I get 3. Go to the g of x1. Oops, my bad, sorry about that. Let's get the highlighter. And that is a positive 1, so that's going to be 1 there. 3 times 1 is 3, so f times g of 1 equals 3. Last one is our division or fraction. So f of 0 divided by g of 0. So go to the table at 0. What does the f of x function become when you plug in 0 and it becomes a 1? What about the g of x function? It becomes a 0. And now you should know, hopefully, this has happened multiple times in the last couple of videos. When you divide by 0, that is undefined. So there is no value that we can get when we do f over g of 0. Okay, now this next part here for these two functions is they're asking us to now do these operations, but you'll notice that in the parentheses after the operations that we're doing with the two functions, there's no number, it's just the variable x. So this is where we're going to actually do some function operations. We're going to take each of these and actually do those operations. So like this is going to be g of x plus f of x. So I'm going to write down g of x, which is x minus 3. And I'm going to add f of x, which is x squared plus 7. Now, because it's addition, I don't need actually to have those parentheses, but you'll see soon in one of these examples why I always put the parentheses. So I'm just going to add like terms. So g plus f of x is equal to x squared plus x, and then negative 3 plus 7 is going to be positive 4. Next one is multiplication. F of x times g of x. So I'm going to write down x squared plus 7 times x minus 3. Now this is going to be FOIL here. All right, so the first terms are x squared times x, which is x cubed. The outside terms are x squared and negative 3, which is negative 3x squared. The inside terms are 7 and x. Multiply those, you get 7x. And the last terms are the constants, 7 and negative 3. Multiply, you get negative 21. We do not have any like terms, so this is actually going to be our answer. All right, this next one is division. So f of x over g of x. So I'm going to put x squared plus 7 over x minus 3, and I'm actually unable to do any factoring with that numerator or denominator, so this is the answer. When we do these, other times when we do these, you might be able to factor one of these functions. And when you do that, you'll be able to actually hopefully simplify the equation. Oh, I should say that because this is a new function, right, f over g of x, I should notice that in the denominator, I do have a variable now. So if you end up getting a denominator into this new function where you've combined these two with division, you need to write x cannot be equal to 3. What we're basically saying is plug in anything you want, but don't plug in 3. Because if you plug in 3, you'll get 0 in the denominator, which is going to result in undefined. So that is called an excluded value, which we'll get into later this year. The last one is g of x minus f of x. So I'm going to write g of x first in parentheses minus the f of x function, x squared plus 7, also in parentheses. I'm going to distribute that negative to get the opposite of x squared. The opposite of 7 is minus 7. Write it in standard form, so in order from least to greatest with your exponents. So negative x squared plus x, and a negative 3 and a negative 7 is negative 10. All right, we're almost there. We're just going to do the same thing, very similar, except in this case, we don't have the functions, we don't have a table, now we have a graph. But the same process applies. So this one is going to be f of 3 plus g of 3. So go to the f of x function, try to do this one for you. Go to 3 on the x-axis, and the y value, thought it was my highlighter, sorry about that, is right there. All right, so when x is 3, the y value is 2 on the f of x function. Go to the other one, when x is 3 on the g of x function, the y value, did it again, is 1. All right, so that's going to be 1. When you add those together, you get 3. Okay, let's do the next one. This is f of 2 over g of 2. So f of 2, when x is 2, it looks like the y value is 0. It's on the x-axis. For the g of 2 function, we go to 2, our y value is 2. When you divide those, you get 0. Next one is f of 1 minus g of 1. So f of 1 is going to be 2. G of 1 is going to be 3. When you subtract, you get negative 1. This one is multiplication, f of 4 times g of 4. So f of 4 is going to be 4. G of 4 is actually 0. It's on the x-axis. So when you multiply that, you get 0. All right, I think this is supposed to be a g here. So g of 1 over f of 1. So g of 1 is 3. F of 1 is 2. You can leave it like that and say 3/2. If you'd like to make it a decimal, feel free for 1.5. And the last one, g of 2 minus f of 2. G of 2 is 2. F of 2 is going to be 0. When you subtract, you get 2. All right, so that's how you do it with the graphs. And I know it's hard to see because you can't see like where I'm pointing or my eyes, but ultimately, come see me for office hours when you're doing these homework questions, and we can make sure you understand how to do these with functions, tables, and with graphs. Good luck.